words seemed to shake under the concentration. Adam's breath came quick with his effort, and then slowly, his right hand lifted an inch, and then fell back. Lee's face was haggard. He moved to the head of the bed and wiped the sick man's damp face with the edge of the sheet. He looked down at the closed eyes. Lee whispered, "Thank you, Adam. Thank you, my friend. Can you move your lips? Make your lips form his name." Adam looked up with sick weariness. His lips parted and failed and tried again. Then his lungs filled. He expelled the air with his lips combed the rushing sigh. His whispered words seemed to hang in the air. "Timshel!" His eyes closed, and he slept.
Over the course of our history, the world has been filled with great philosophers. Aristotle, Derrida, Dr. Seuss. But without a doubt, one of the greatest philosophers of our time is David Kuhn. His work is known on one continent by 3 people, and we have the privilege of speaking with him here tonight.
Hi, my name is Helen Tuck, here with CMS ABCDEFG, and I'm interviewing David Kuhn, an intellectual celebrity. I'm here to ask about one of his favorite stories, East of Eden. David, how are you? Mr. Kuhn?
Yeah, thanks, Eileen. East of Eden by John Steinbeck is, in fact, one of my favorite novels.
So, Mr. Kuhn, one of the most talked about topics in East of Eden is the use of the biblical quote, Timshel. What are your thoughts on its use within the story?
Thanks, Judy. That's a great question. My thoughts on the use of Timshel within East of Eden always go back to the biblical story of Cain and Abel, as Steinbeck uses this story as a rough translation, or, if you would, retelling of the Cain and Abel story through the brothers of Charles and Adam and his sons Aaron and Cal. The curse of Cain and Abel, that being Cain turning on Abel for the favor of God, it seems to follow their family through generations, through the separation between Charles and Aaron, and later the betrayal of Aaron via Cal. Timshel, of course, can be translated as both "thou mayest" and "thou shalt," but its rough translation within the Bible is typically, as Lee points out, or should be, used to describe "thou mayest," and that Cain was able to choose his fate rather than his sins being forced upon him. And its use within this story, in my opinion, as it's used by Adam on his deathbed, is to show that Cal is not forced to accept his sins or live through the guilt of how he believes he killed his brother, but instead he can choose to live through his guilt and find a new way or find a new path in life.
Excellent. How or why does Timshel matter to you in your life?
That's a great question, Kathy. Real good question.
What's that?
That's my thinking cap.
Oh.
Now, Timshel matters most to me in my life, based upon its translation within the text of East of Eden, that being its use in "thou mayest," just because it lets me know that my life is not set out before me. It is not predestined. I can choose my own path. I mayest.
Very interesting. Now, I have a few questions about some of your other words.
left that interview feeling disappointed, mainly because Mr. Kuhn only answered 2 out of my 33 prepared questions. But I did learn one thing, that I should quit.
What?
No, I am serious, David. I am tired of